Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's planning meeting. My name is Councillor David Connor, and I'm Chairman of the Planning Committee here at Fenland. Welcome to those members of the press and public who are joining us via the live stream. Before we begin, please may I take this opportunity to remind everyone to turn their mobiles and computers to silent and ensure when using the microphones the red light is on and then turned off when you have finished speaking. We'll quickly go to agenda item 1, and I'd like to ask member services if we have any apologies for absence, and it's Joe on this occasion. So over to you, Joe. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members. Apologies received today from Councillor Meekins. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 2 is to confirm and sign the minutes from the meeting of the 23rd of July. So Councillor French is going to propose it. Can I have a seconder on that? Seconder for the minutes. Councillor Marks, thank you. Can I have a show of hands on that, just for the record? Thank you very much. Those minutes have been approved. Thank you. So now you'll see agenda item number 13. There is a need to confirm and sign the confidential minutes from the 23rd of July. Unless I see anyone has any comments to make on this confidential minutes, I suggest that we agree them at this point without the need to go into confidential session. So again, you've all read the minutes. Councillor French. Who's going to second it? Councillor Marks, thank you. All show of hands on that. Thank you very much. So they have been approved as well. Now we'll go to agenda item 3, which is urgent items. There are none. However, agenda item number 6 has been withdrawn from today's agenda. Item 4 is declarations of interest. Member services will now go to each councillor in turn, and can you please state if you have anything to declare in relation to any agenda item. So again, over to you, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Benny.
Thank you, Joe. Just two things today. Item 5, I was portfolio holder when the decision was made to purchase Barclays Bank, so I'll step back from that one. And item 11, I think this would be a blanket across all council members. The applicant is Councillor John Clark, who I know. I don't socialise with John. I do know him, didn't know him before I became a councillor, and it's only through my work as a councillor that I've come to know John. But I will treat this application as I do with any other and treat it with the impartiality it deserves.
Members, can I have a show of hands for a non-block declaration for that, please? Councillor Connor.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. I've known the Sharman family for many years, and I don't socialise them or had any business dealings with them for so long now, if ever. So, as always, I will keep an open mind on this application. And we've done an on-block one with Councillor or Mr. Clark or Councillor Clark, whichever you prefer. So I think that will take care of that. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs. French.
Thank you, Joe. Member of March Town Council, but don't take any part in planning decisions. Agenda item 5, I will be speaking as the ward councillor and will remove myself from the table.
Thank you. Councillor Gershner.
Thank you. I have no declaration of interest. However, having just come out of hospital recently, I may leave the meeting early. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marks.
Nothing to declare.
Councillor Senate Clough.
Nothing to declare. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Joe. Now we'll go to the main part of the meeting. Members should only make a proposal on the planning application when invited. However, I shall be initially asking if anyone is going to propose the officer's recommendation. Clearly, if no proposal is forthcoming or that proposal fails, I shall be then looking for an alternative proposal. Members are reminded that any such proposal should be accompanied by the planning reasons for going against the officer's recommendation. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Nikki Carter. She's the Senior Development Officer here at Fenland to present application F/YR25/0149. It's a Fenland District Council agenda item number 5. So Nikki, when you're ready, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Agenda item 5 is a full application to demolish the existing building and erect a 2.4 metre high solid timber fence surrounding the site following demolition. The building has been purchased by Fenland District Council with the express intention of demolition, and government funding has been secured for this under the Future High Streets Fund. However, there are currently no proposals for future redevelopment of the site. The funding arrangements are not considered material to the assessment of the application, having regard to the local planning authority's legal duties. The application site is indicated in red on the location plan and aerial photo. The site consists of the former Barclays Bank, a brutalist style building located on a prominent corner plot between Broad Street and Grays Lane, immediately abutting the recently regenerated public realm on Broad Street. It is located within March Conservation Area and situated between the Grade 2 listed buildings of the War Memorial on Broad Street and the Old Bank House on West End, which can be seen on the location plan. It is also within the town centre boundary, primary shopping area, and constitutes primary shopping frontage. The proposed site layout can be seen here, with the resultant site remaining vacant and secured by a 2.4 metre high fence indicated in blue, a partial elevation of which is also shown. Photo 1 shows the front of the existing building in the context of the listed War Memorial and regenerated public realm. Photos 2 and 3 show the prominence of this corner plot with views from Broad Street and Grays Lane. Photo 4 shows the side of the site along Grays Lane in the context of the listed Old Bank House to the left, and photos 5 and 6, the rear of the site from Grays Lane. It is acknowledged that there is an opportunity for redevelopment of this site. However, in this case, there is no such proposal. The application merely seeks to demolish the existing building and erect a fence around the site. The building is not considered such an eyesore as to warrant its demolition without any safeguards in place for its future development. And insufficient evidence has been submitted to demonstrate that the building could not be reused, the necessity to demolish the building prior to the scheme for redevelopment having been secured, nor that demolition of the existing building would result in the site being viable in future. Therefore, there is a distinct risk that the site would remain vacant, with fencing to secure it indefinitely, which would be more harmful to the character of the area than the current appearance and condition of the site. This would result in unjustified harm to the historic environment, the character and visual amenity of the area, and the vitality and viability of the town centre. It is considered that there are no public benefits to the proposal which outweigh the harm identified, and there is no planning mechanism to secure the future of the site should this application be approved. As such, the application is recommended for refusal.
Yeah, thank you, Nikki. We have one speaker on this application. I'd now like to invite Councillor Mrs. French, who is the ward councillor, to make her presentation to the committee. You've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, councillors. I'm speaking in support of this application in my capacity as a ward member and as a member of both March Future High Street and March Area Transport Study Boards. Members will have seen with their own eyes the transformation of March Town Centre using external grant funding and government and combined authority funding, and reinvented Broad Street, the riverside, the marketplace, as well as giving grants to property owners to improve the building and bring empty floor space back into use. The Broad Street project has seen the listed building fountain relocated and the War Memorial now surrounded by high quality public realm rather than sitting in the middle of the road. It also has been shortlisted for the National Transport Award in October 2025 in the Exemplary Approach to Active Travel and Public Space category. We regularly hear about spiralling costs of public sector projects. This one has been delivered on time and under budget. Not only that, but we have also stretched the budget and delivered more through the creative prudential financial management. We delivered the regeneration of outside Iceland, which was an absolute eyesore, and additional car parking spaces in City Road. It's important to understand this background in the context of the application before you. We have always seen that the Barclays site as a financial piece for the Marchtown Centre regeneration jigsaw. It was purchased by the council using Future High Street grant, and we used it for the site, office and also the compound throughout the project. I draw your attention to our own March Conservative Area Appraisal and Management Plan, which describes Barclay as a negative frontage that has detrimental impact on the conservation area. Our own conservation officer refers it to a brutalistic architectural. I would go further. The residents that I speak to consider it as an eyesore and can't wait to see it demolished. If we received an application for this design in any of our conservation areas, it would be immediately thrown out by this council. This application is supported by a heritage report prepared by a specialist conservation consultant. This justifies the demolition. It is clear to me that the conversion of the building is unviable, and this isn't something the residents of March want to see. They want to see a new building befitting the setting of what we've created. It will be the jewel in the crown for Broad Street project. The concerns of our planners seem to be mainly about what happens next. In terms of redevelopment scheme, I would remind members that the council owns the site. In our control what happens next. Both a local planning authority and the landowner, we get 2 bites of the cherry. We will also maintain the site and provide whatever design fencing is needed, potentially including artwork to ensure it is attractive. Once it has been fenced, fencing is needed, potentially including, once it's been demolished, the site, using the Future High Street grant, our property officers are tasked with finding a developer who will deliver the aspirations scheme we will insist upon. Demolition now raises a value and significant improved viability. It's undoubtedly the best redevelopment site in March because of what we've delivered around it, and we've already had a number of approaches for potential developers. I'm really struggling to understand why officers want to try to protect a building that they and the council public have stated has a negative and detrimental impact on the area. Members, I ask you to approve this application and let us get on completing the March Future High Street project for the benefit of the residents and visitors. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Councillor French. Members, questions, clarifications, raise your hand. We'll take Councillor Marks first.
Good afternoon, Councillor French. Councillor French, when did Barclays actually finish there? Can you tell me roughly?
It was empty for approximately 18 months before we purchased it. Nobody wanted it.
And then following that 18 months, it was then used as a site office for the regeneration of the centre itself.
And it still is until we finish putting up, we've got some extra bollards to put up, so the Octavias are still in there.
Okay, and the area it sits in, we've had previously the toilet block come to us, and there was conversations regarding the security and drug taking stuff.
Sorry.
We had issues regarding, I believe, some antisocial behaviour around there with drug taking and various things that went on within that area. Is that still the case?
Well, we don't know because it's fenced off at this time, but the plan would be to put fencing up and CCTV.
Okay, anybody else? Councillor Gerstner?
Have we got any idea of what the cost implications are to leave it as it is, as to taking it away? Is there any benefit from the taxpayer's point of view on that?
If we try to sell it, it's not viable for anybody to buy it. If we demolish it, it is great value.
Anybody else at all? Can't see anybody. Thank you very much, Councillor French. Members, questions, clarifications to officers? Councillor Gerson, once again, thank you.
Same question. Do we know the cost implications by keeping the building there as to opposed to demolishing the building and it being a flat piece of land?
Through you, Chairman, while we proceed the viability report about delivery of the scheme, as in about whether or not that would be viable, we haven't been provided information in relation to that. I think that would be until consideration with relatively limited weight though.
Do we know how much it's costing at the moment for site security or rates or things like that at all?
Through you, Chairman, we've not been provided that. It's not a consideration. I would suggest in termination of the application.
Okay. Any more questions for officers at all? Can't see any burning desire. I think it's fairly well clear cut in the report. Thank you. Right. So I'd like now to invite members to debate the item in respect of the material planning considerations relevant to the application. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand. I'll take Councillor Marks first and I'll go second if nobody else wants to. Councillor Marks.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's a blot on the landscape compared to what is now the updated March Centre. It's an 80s building. You look at that picture there, it really is out of character. We understand that there are two grade listed two buildings beside it. My biggest concern is security. We already have, if you look at picture 3, you can see the blanked out windows of WH Smith's where there is a homeless person already living in there. How long before winter comes, somebody breaks into that, either they set a fire in there or alternatively try living in there. We'll have squatters. It just doesn't bode well for leaving that building standing like that. I know there's an argument, yes, you could make it secure, but actually, who's going to buy a building like that? We have so many redundant properties when you look around March, Chatteris. And I come back to the one in Chatteris on Bridge Street where we've got a hole in the roof because nobody can actually make their mind up. Nobody can afford to do anything with it. So it just stands there getting more and more derelict. And I think it would be a shame to see this building just be allowed to continue to get derelict and let down the rest of what has had a lot of money spent on it in March. People come to March and they're now driving through saying they like what's happened to it. See that, I just think it's an eyesore. Yes, fencing isn't going to look very pretty. However, it then gives scope going forward for things to happen. So my view is the quicker that comes down, the better.
Councillor Senate Clough. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As with most planning applications, it comes down to public benefit versus harm. And the way I see it at the moment, that building is not offering any public benefit. And to follow on from what Councillor Marks is saying, there's a chance that, it could present an opportunity for people to congregate there, and ASB take place and all the rest of it. And so I do feel that a sensitive regeneration of the site would actually result in a lot of public benefit and outweigh any harm that would be caused from a demolition process that would be obviously taking into consideration the war memorial that's close by and all the rest of it, and not offering any harm to that. So I actually support the demolition.
Yeah, I think I can come in. I'm not going to keep saying what Councillor Marks has said. This needs to come down as quick as it can. It's got occupiers in there till, as Councillor French said, until the bollards and the bits and pieces are all squared up. And it looks very nice, a regeneration centre, and it looks to me and many others, it's a blot on the landscape as far as I'm concerned. It will almost certainly, if it's left like that, we'll be attracting squatters and everybody else. It'll be stripped of all its metals and the windows are all broken, and it will become unsafe. We've only got to look at the George in March, there where it was left and nothing too much done with it. And look what happened there. All the metals got stolen, I'm led to believe, vandalised, people living in there at times, and this is what's going to happen to that. So I will support, most definitely I will support the demolition of this building so we can get something done with it as quick as we can, and obviously do make something really, really nice going further forward. So I think I've made my feelings quite clear. Thank you. Councillor Marks.
I think just to follow that up, one thing that Councillor French did say, and I think the proof of the pudding is, it was actually on the market for 18 months and didn't sell. And it's only really, I guess, because FDC wanted some sort of area to work within, that it provided a good way forward at that point in time. Had that been somebody, thought they could do something with that building previously, that would have been sold well within the 18 months beforehand. So again, I'm in full support of demolition.
It's a very prudent move for Fenland District Council to buy that with the regeneration of that town centre. It saved a lot of travelling, had somebody on site all the time. It was a good decision, and now it needs a good decision from this committee to pull this down and get something done with it. Thank you. Councillor Gerstner.
Yeah, just one more item. I think it's going to be very difficult to market as it is because, as the report says, it's structures formed of asbestos containing materials, and that will be very hard to market or sell. The building has to come down before you're going to get anybody interested in buying it, because they don't want to take on the responsibility of removing the asbestos, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's a chicken and the egg situation, isn't it? But yeah, anybody else at all? No? Debate's closed. Officers, would you like to come in, please? So, do I have a proposer then to go with officer recommendation to refuse planning permission? No. It didn't. To be fair, it didn't like you were saying that on your submission. So, just to reiterate, no, I can't say that proposal's failed, so I need another one. So who's going to make a different proposal because that one's failed? Councillor Marks, what are you proposing, please?
I propose we go against officer's recommendation and we go for demolition of the building. I believe it's out of keeping now. It's going to cause security risks in the very near future as soon as it becomes empty, which will lead to antisocial behaviour. And I also think that we are safeguarding public interest as well. As we've just heard, it's full of asbestos. Should that catch fire, then we could have all sorts of issues. So if squatters move in, so my recommendation would be pull the thing down as quickly as possible.
Okay, that seems good enough for me. I think you've covered every angle. So all we need is a seconder. We'll try you, Councillor Gerstner. Thank you very much. So we've got a proposal to go against officer recommendation of the reasons given by Councillor Marks, which are excellent. Fully endorse those. Seconded by Councillor Gerstner. Can I have a show of hands on that?
Unanimous decision, Chairman.
So thank you very much. So that application has been refused. Successful. Thank you. As I said previously, agenda item number 6 has been withdrawn from today's agenda, so I'll now hand over to Alan Davis. He's a Principal Planning Officer here at Fenland to present application F/YR25/04730, agenda item number 7. So Alan, when you're ready, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 7 is for the erection of 9 dwellings in outline only, and all matters are reserved. The site is land to the south of 4216 Back Road, Gorefield, and the application has been submitted by Swan Edwards on behalf of the executors of the estate of G. Salter. The application site is shown in red on the location plan in the aerial photo above. The application site is located close to the centre of the village of Gorefield and is accessed from the southern side of Back Road. To the south and southeast of the site is open countryside, and to the immediate west of the site are the rear gardens of a number of dwellings located on Cattle Dyke. The site measures approximately 1.4 hectares and is located in flood zone 3 and has an area of low surface water flood risk in the centre of the site. The proposal seeks outline plan permission with all matters reserved for the erection of up to 9 dwellings. The site is located adjacent to the built form settlement of Gorefield, which is identified as a small village in policy LP3 of the Fenland local plan. The proposed indicative site plan on the screen demonstrates that the development could form a cul-de-sac access from back road with the dwellings fronting onto Spine Road. Dwellings could be laid out as detached dwellings and can be seen that they would have sufficient private amenity space in the form of rear gardens. However, there's a potential low density of development of 7 dwellings per hectare, which would ensure very little impact on the amenity of neighbouring dwellings or residents. It is accepted that this proposal at this stage is an outline, and so the layout could change in future at reserved matter stage. Weight is given to the previous decision made under application FYR24 07720, whereby it was concluded that this application, this previous submission, did not justify refusal of the application on the low density of development. As minimum weight can be given to this consideration, it is accordingly considered that it would be unreasonable at this stage to refuse this current application on this basis. Just to give some context of the site, so photo 1, top left hand corner, is the view from the access to the site looking south from back road. Photo 2, so top right hand corner, is the internal view of the site looking northeast. Photo 3, bottom left hand corner view, is the internal view of site looking south, and photo 4, bottom right hand corner, is the internal view of the site looking north. So in summary, the application seeks outline plan permission with all matters reserved for the erection of up to 9 dwellings on land south of Back Road in Gorefield. A previous application was submitted in 2024 and determined at the planning committee. It was refused for one reason, being the flood risk and the lack of sequential test. This application includes a sequential test which demonstrates that there are no other sequentially preferable sites within Gorefield for up to 9 dwellings, and therefore regard is given to this previous decision where the application was solely refused on the basis of flood risk. The current application demonstrates there's an absence of alternatively available sites that could accommodate this development, and therefore the sequential test is considered to be passed. The proposal is therefore considered to be acceptable and is accordingly recommended for approval in this instance.
Thank you very much, Alan. We have one speaker on this application. I'd like to invite Shana Penny. Of course, she's the agent, to make her presentation to the committee. You've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak in support of this application. I'm delighted to sit in front of you with an officer recommendation of approval. You'll recall that a similar application was presented to you in December last year. In your considerations, you decided that the principle of development was acceptable in terms of the location of the site and the number of dwellings proposed. However, concerns were raised with regards to the sequential test. We've listened to your comments and gone away and provided a more robust sequential test. As you can see from the committee report, both us as the agent and officers have concluded that there are no sequentially preferable sites available within Gorefield, and therefore the proposal meets the sequential test. Upon passing the sequential test, the exception test must be applied. Paragraphs 9.24 to 9.30 within the committee report demonstrate and confirm that the exception test is met, and as such all remaining matters relating to flood risk have been addressed. I understand that the Parish Council has objected to the proposal on the grounds of highway safety and flood risk. With regards to highways, paragraph 9.35 of the committee report confirms that the local highway authority raises no objections. As discussed earlier, matters of flood risk are overcome. As such, there are no remaining issues with the application. Having gone away and reworked the supporting information to overcome your only concern relating to the sequential test and demonstrating that the proposal now meets this test, I trust that you're now in a position to grant planning permission as per the officer recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, questions to Ms. Penny? If you'd like to ask a question or some clarifications on her presentation, please do so. Councillor French, thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm pleased you actually listened to us. Thank you. Have you been in contact with North Level Drainage Board?
We haven't personally, but I know they get consulted automatically as part of the consultation process. So I'm not sure if there's a response on the file.
I actually know that none of the drainage boards are statutory consultees, but they do have dikes in and around this area. So I would suggest if this is approved, that you speak to them sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I've just had a nod from the officer saying there is a comment. Yeah.
Anybody else at all? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Very quick. Got away with that very lightly. Members, questions, clarifications to officers? No? Okay, that's fine. Lovely. Oh, and hang on a minute. We've got Councillor Marks. Thank you.
I suppose we better follow up from Councillor French's question. What was the response from the Drainage Board?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, the comment was received on 24th of June and stated no objection subject to pre-commencement condition requiring submission of surface water systems and outfalls. We've considered that response and a condition is proposed to be appended to the application, or the permission should it be granted.
Thank you.
That's fair enough then, isn't it? Thanks very much. Now, members, I'd like to invite members to debate the item in respect of material considerations relevant to the application. If you'd like to speak, you know what to do. Raise your hand. Councillor French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think last December we debated it to death, and I'm glad to see that the agent has come back with what we suggested. So I don't really think there's much more to debate.
No, I tend to agree with you there. As we're still in debate, I should still give people the opportunity, but I think we did say quite a lot about it in December of last year, so I'm going to give anybody 10 seconds to make up their mind. No, I'm going to cut that short, finish the debate. Members, any questions to officers? No? Right, move on then. Do I have a proposer to go with officer recommendation to grant planning permission? Councillor French, have we got a seconder? Councillor Marks. So we've got a proposal to go with officer recommendation to grant this application, proposed by Councillor French, seconded by Councillor Marks. Can I have a show of hands on that?
Unanimous decision, Chairman.
So that has been successful. Thank you very much. So moving on very quickly, I'll now hand it to Alan Davis once again to present application F/YR25/0280. It's a variation of conditions, agenda item number 8. So Alan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for land north and west of 47 Friday Bridge Road, Elm, and as stated, it is for a variation condition under Section 73 of the Town and Country Planning Act. The proposal seeks to vary a number of conditions, which are listed on the screen above. Numbers 3, 4, 5, 9, 15, 18, 21, 23, 23 being the approved plans. And the proposal seeks to make a number of amendments to change the overall details of the approved scheme. The application site is shown in red on the location plan and aerial photo on the plans on the screen, and the application seeks a variation conditions and plan permission FYR210339F relating to external materials, surface water drainage, the construction surface water management plan, external lighting, biodiversity enhancements of the site, landscaping, finished floor levels and approved plans and documents. Conditions 5 and 15 have previously been dealt with under condition discharge application YR233110, and therefore there are no objections to the variation of these two conditions. There are no objections to the trigger point of condition 18 being varied from no works of slab level to preoccupation for the submission of a detailed soft and hard landscaping scheme. And then in respect of conditions 3, 4, 9, 21 and 23, the submitted details have been considered by the local planning authority and relevant consultees with no objections or concerns raised. The above plan shows the approved site plan from the 2021 application. And again, just to confirm the materials and the details that have been changed, they are external materials, surface water drainage, construction, surface water runoff, external lighting, biodiversity, hard and soft landscaping, levels and cross sections, and approved plans. It's considered that the amendments to the details proposed are acceptable. However, it will have some amendments to the scheme overall. The plan on the screen now shows the implications of the amendments. So as you can see, there will be some alterations to the site, in specific and in particular the turning head at the end of the cul-de-sac. The next plan shows a side-by-side comparison with the approved layout on the left-hand side and the implications of the proposal on the right. As you can see, it's largely the same scheme, albeit with some improvements and changes to the efficiency of the site layout. In addition to the changes on the site layout, there will be changes to the house types. On the screen, you can see the existing approved elevations on the right hand side, and then the amendments to the house types. Give an example on the left hand side, type 1, which is plots 3, 4 and 5. As you can see, there are some changes to the appearance of the dwellings, but they still retain a number of architectural detailing, such as chimneys, porches and canopies, stone headers and sills above and below the windows, and downpipes and so on. Again, just to give you a flavour of the changes to house types, the house type A on the right hand side, which was approved, and on the left hand side, what is now type 2 house type for plots 1, 2, 6, 7 and 8. As you can see, most of the architectural details remain. A few have been added, and the chimney is retained, as are the stone sills and stone headers. So in summary, the application seeks a variation of conditions and plan permission FYR210339F in respect of the conditions I've gone through. There are no objections to the variation of condition 18 to require the submission of the landscaping scheme prior to the first occupation and development. Details submitted in respect of conditions 3, 4, 9, 21, 23 are considered to be acceptable and sufficient to satisfy the requirements of the conditions to allow the commencement of the new build element of the scheme. However, the wording of the condition will be retained to require the submission of details prior to the commencement of works on the conversion element of the scheme. The proposal is therefore recommended for approval.
Thank you once again. I'd now like, we will now have one set of speakers on this application. I'd now like to invite Jordan Trundle, the agent, and Andrew and Lance Allen, speaking on behalf of the applicant, to make their presentation to the committee. You've got 5 minutes between you. Super.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application today. We have 3 speakers in attendance today, and I want to give a quick summary of our involvement. Pete Humphrey Associates have been responsible for the planning applications on the site since the applicant completed their purchase in the middle of last year. Andrew and Lance Allen are 2 representatives of the applicant Grafton Ventures. Firstly, I would like to thank the planning officer Tom Donnelly for his work and engagement throughout the planning application process. As the committee planning officer report has stated, this agenda item is for a Section 73 application for the variation of conditions of the implemented plan application reference FYR 21/0339/F relating to external materials, surface water, external lighting, biodiversity, landscaping, levels and cross sections, and improved plans and documents. I'm not going to repeat the findings of the committee report, but just want to conclude that we fully agree with the planning officer's assessment and recommendation put forward to the committee to approve the application. Therefore, all 3 of us are happy to answer any questions that members might have.
Right, thank you very much. Members, clarifications, questions? Anybody got any? Goodness me. Not at all. No, I'm looking once more time. No, thank you very much on that. Right, members, questions to officers? Any questions to officers, ladies and gentlemen members? Not at all. Okay. So with that then, I'd now like to invite members to debate the item in respect of material considerations relevant to the application. If you'd like to speak, raise your hand. Councillor French. Thank you.
Thank you. This is on the variation of conditions. It has already got full planning permission on it, and I'm quite happy with the variations.
Just remind members we are in debate. Anybody else want to add to that? Don't think there's much to say, is there really? No, I'm just going to quickly look around. No one. So I'm going to close the debate. Any questions to officers? Any questions, officers? No, sorry. Okay. So then, with further ado, do I have a proposer to go with officer recommendation to grant planning permission? Councillor Marks, I've got a seconder, Councillor French. So with that, I've got a proposal from Councillor Marks, seconded by Councillor French, to go with officer recommendation to grant planning permission. Can I have a show of hands of that?
Unanimous decision, Chairman.
So the application has been approved. Thank you. So agenda item number 9, I'll hand over to Alan Davis to... Oh, sorry. Lovely, thank you. So I'll now hand over to Alan Davis to present application FYR 25/0156F, agenda item number 9. So you're earning your corn today, so off you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for Sharman Fabrications at Gore Farm, Gore Road, March, and the applicant is Mr. G. Sharman. The proposal is for the erection of one self-built, custom-built dwelling and a storage shed involving demolition of the existing shed and stable on site. The application has been previously to committee, was heard at committee on the 28th of May and was deferred to allow the applicant to provide further information in regard to business case, viability of the business, need for a dwelling on site and security. To refresh members, the site location plan is on the screen above. On the left hand side is the location plan. As you can see, there is an existing building on site on the left hand side. That's the existing business unit, and the shed and stable to be demolished is to the south. On the right hand side you can see the location and the location within the open countryside to the west of March. This application, as I said, was previously deferred from the 28th of May committee to allow for further information to be provided, including details of expansion of the business and to prove that the business is viable and to substantiate the need for the dwelling on site, including evidence to prove that the employees listed as working there do work for the business. The business plan appears to indicate 2 reasons for the need for a dwelling on site. The first reason is to allow for availability of an employee to undertake all on-call HGV repairs on evenings and weekends. The business plan notes that the applicant would be available 24 hours a day to take delivery of equipment and for goods to be collected. The second reason regarding the need for the dwelling on site is for site security. The business plan states that the business has previously had items stolen. The plan above shows the proposed site plan. So as you can see on the left hand side, the existing industrial unit, and then to the south of that, very similar design, second industrial unit, and then to the right, the dwelling itself. The financial information submitted by the applicant demonstrates that the business is relatively low risk. What that means is that the business has functioned well and is not in any danger or concerns. The financial assessment has been submitted, has been assessed by the council. The submitted business statement identifies that having an employee on site 24 hours a day would allow for improved availability of staff on site. The business plan states that the applicant would be available to be on call and to take the delivery, collection of equipment goods. The applicant currently lives 0.6 miles from the application site, which is a 3-minute drive. This is not considered to be an unreasonable journey time to travel to the site to take collection or delivery of goods within the site. Also, it is unlikely that collection and deliveries would be outside of normal reasonable working hours, i.e. Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. The proposed drawings on screen now show the elevations of the proposed dwelling. The submitted business statement identifies site security as justification for this dwelling on the site. The business statement, however, does note that the buildings on site are secure. In addition to this, no crime details or police crime numbers have been provided with the assessment from the applicant. Security is a matter to be considered in relation to the acceptability or otherwise of a planning application. However, it would not be uncommon or unreasonable for business premises of this type to operate under a scheme of security cameras and alarms. It should also be noted that the site itself is not unduly remote or isolated, given its proximity to the A141 to the east of the application site. The plans on the screen show the proposed shed, which is the justification for the need for the dwelling on site. This would obviously be linked to the existing the existing business. The next plan shows the proposed floor plans for the dwelling, two-storey dwelling with attached garage with sufficient space for the parking of 2 vehicles. It is considered that the submitted business plan fails to address the requirements of Policy LP12, Part D, in terms of a functional need for a dwelling on site, as it is not considered that the increased security and convenience from the applicant residing adjacent to the site is a material factor sufficient to overcome the policy requirement, especially considering that the applicant is currently situated 0.6 miles away from site, which is a 3-minute drive. Just some further plans for the shed. So that's the proposed floor plans for the shed for the business, and the proposed street scenes which members have previously seen at committee. Just to give some site context, a number of photos there showing the existing business and the buildings on site, and bottom right hand corner shows the existing employment unit. So in summary, this application was deferred at the 28th of May Planning Committee to allow for further information to be provided by the applicant to demonstrate the operating model of the business. The applicant has provided further information in the form of a business plan and confidential financial statements from 2020 to 2023. The submitted business plan identifies availability of staff on site and security as reasons for the functional need of the dwelling. However, it is not considered that these reasons are sufficient to justify a dwelling on site, particularly considering that the address detailed within the application form is approximately 0.6 miles from the application site. The submission therefore does not address the requirements of Policy LP12 Part D of the Fenland Local Plan in terms of a functional need for a dwelling on site, as it is not considered that the increased security or convenience from the applicant residing adjacent to the site is a material factor sufficient to overcome the policy requirements to direct development away from such sites. The application is therefore accordingly recommended for refusal. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you once again. We have one set of speakers on this application. I'd now like to invite Matthew Hall, he's of course the agent, and Rachel Sharman, the applicant, to make their presentation to the committee. You've got 5 minutes between you. Just start when you feel able to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. As the officer said, this application was deferred from May's committee, where members asked for 3 further details: accounts, clarification who's going to live in the property, and a business plan. So we've listened to what members have said, gone away and provided this information to officers. And as the officer said, we've provided 4 years worth of accounts for a business that's been established since about 1988. It will be the Sharman family who are employed in the business that will be living in this occupational dwelling if passed, and all have been involved with the design of this dwelling. The applicant prepared a business plan to give a history of the business and the proposal going forward, together with obviously security, which we've heard about. There are no objections to this application, and all the consultees support the application. We gave an overview of the business at May's Planning Committee meeting, which includes out-of-hours working, to HGVs, lorries, trailers, play equipment, gates, structural steelwork, and also expanding into shot blasting and powder coating. And a lot of this work can be out of hours at any time and at weekends. All of this sort of work requires bulk buying, which is in the business plan, and all that sort of material is left on site. The business, as I've said in May's committee, has been located at this site for over 20 years. It's not a new business, it's been here 20 years and wishes to stay and expand at this location with an occupational dwelling and a further shed on site for the Sharman family and their business. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much for that. Members, questions to Mr. Hall or Ms. Sharman, please? You've got one, Councillor Marks. Thank you.
I've actually got two or three. Thank you, Chair.
On then.
Thank you. It's nice to see that a business is trying to expand, and I understand running my own business, and it's an engineering company. We've heard from the officers, deliveries, you don't get deliveries out of hours. HGVs tend to want to be worked on out of hours. Would you agree that? Is that sort of like a contract that you have to work on the HGVs out of hours?
Yes, definitely. Most of our HGVs require, well, not our HGVs, our clients require it out of hours because they're working during our hours and need to repair work afterwards. So we lose work through that means.
Thank you. Also, we've heard you live 3 minutes away. Really, really silly question. Do you park your car in a garage? So,
No.
So 3 minutes is on a good summer's day or summer's night. If you had to get to, if you had to get a call where an alarm goes off or CCTV gives you a warning on a frosty night, that could be up to 10 minutes.
Definitely, yes, to de-ice the car and everything, yeah. Definitely cause a problem.
Thank you. And I take it you have trailers and equipment. I mean, recently we've had Artilica Metallica who had just lost 2 trailers, and they have very nice CCTV, but the police haven't been able to catch. In fact, they actually stole 1 trailer and 3 hours later came back for a second.
We have more than trailers. We've got forklifts and tractors and everything, so quite valuable equipment. So it is a worry.
Thank you.
I'm sure it is. Anybody else got any more questions at all? No, can't see any. Finished. Thank you very much. Excellent, thank you. Members, questions, clarification to officers? Councillor Marks, thank you.
I go back to my 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes when it's nice and sunny. That's not taking into consideration the winter, I take it.
No, the 3 minute comment is based on it's 0.6 miles from site. If there are other factors, for example, if it was during the day and there was a lot of traffic around, I don't think they would be getting from their home to the site within 3 minutes. But it is close to the site, so members have to give that some consideration. The existing workshop is close by to the applicant's home address. But whether it's exactly 3 minutes, there will be some leeway sometimes.
Thank you.
Councillor Senate-Clough, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Question to officers in terms of 3.6, where you talk about the proximity to A41. You're mentioning how its proximity means that it's not necessarily rural and therefore not at any enhanced security risk. I would say that that actually doesn't enhance the security at all. It's likely to detract from it, the fact that it's near a road where potentially people could just make off quickly. So I just wanted to ask you about your thoughts around that and how you came to that kind of wording in 3.6.
Yes, thank you. In terms of security of dwellings, general guidance that we receive either in planning policy or from police crime prevention design advisors is that properties are best located in areas that have high levels of what's referred to as natural surveillance, i.e. people walking past, vehicles driving past, members of the public being around near the property. In this case, you've got the Isle of Ely Way, A141, which is obviously quite a busy road, and it means that the site itself has a high level of natural surveillance. There is a lot of people driving past. So if something were to take place on site, there is a high chance of people seeing what happens. As I say, it's guidance. There's no hard and fast rule, because there are situations and circumstances that might mean a busy road nearby doesn't necessarily help in terms of natural surveillance, things like hedges and so on. But in this particular case, it's considered that the site is reasonably well or reasonably visible and can be seen by a lot of members of the public driving past.
Would you like to come back?
Just briefly, thank you, Chair. Thank you for your explanation. I do appreciate it, even though I don't agree. I don't drive along the 141 looking to see if houses are getting burgled. There we go.
Okay, Councillor Marks. Anybody else want to ask officers any more questions? Don't seem to, so no, thank you. Thank you very much for that, officers. Now we go to, I'd like to invite members to debate the item in respect of material planning considerations relevant to the application. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand, and Councillor Marks has done so, and I'll come in next if nobody else wants to.
I think to start with, Councillor Clough made a very, very a good point there. Quite honestly, that is 50 miles an hour along there. You don't at 2 o'clock in the morning look round to see if anybody's actually burgling a shed. All you want to do is get home or go to where you're going. So I do disagree with that comment, unfortunately, regarding site security being aided by the roadside. This application, HGVs, I've got an engineering company. We work out of hours. It's great. If you could actually live on site, which we would love to do, like a workplace home, it would be fantastic. These people are working out of hours. You don't want to, every 5 minutes go home for tea or whatever, and that's like half an hour or an hour out of your day. Somebody bringing just sandwiches outside is great. It's the way businesses should be run. The old blacksmiths and stuff will run like it, and that's how this should. And I personally support this. I think it gives site security, which in this day and age is very much needed. Being 10 minutes away, best will in the world, officers have said 3 minutes. That's 3 minutes without even getting dressed. That's 2 minutes when you actually wake up when the phone's gone off, because we had it when we had the alarm with Grandma and she used to press the SOS. You have to wake up to actually jump in the car to do this. And that takes time. And honestly, in 10-15 minutes, a lot of tools can go missing, trailers and everything else, and these guys are smart in what they do. And at the end of the day, what harm is this doing? This is actually giving somebody an extra half an hour a day on site. And that is a financial benefit as well. That's 2.5 hours extra a week you're actually working without travelling back and forth. And they're saving money. They're saving money by not travelling back and forth. So we're helping the ozone as well. So sorry, I support this totally.
Yeah, I think I'll come in here then. Yeah, Councillor Marks has said something, part of what I was going to say. Look, Fenland, their slogan is open for business. Make no mistake about that. That's what it says, and that's what we need to do here. This has been going 20 years. At the last planning meeting, which I wasn't here, whenever it came before last planning, they had to satisfy 3 questions. And in the presentation from Mr. Hall, they've done exactly that. So I think my own opinion states that anybody who wants to put a house and another building and employ other people in this uncertain world where who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, who's going to know what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years' time, I think they're very brave people. And I think these sort of things should be supported. We should be looking to make aspirations higher. And I think these sort of businesses, they start off with 2 people or 1 person, go to 3 or 4, And who knows what's going to happen in 5 years' time. They may want to put up another building, and they may want to employ 2 or 3 people, and that's what we want in Fenland. So I'm afraid, I'm not afraid, I'm going to go against officer recommendation on this, and I'm absolutely supportive of this. I'll go on to say further about security. I know people will raise their eyes when they say this. I had a business, and I didn't live on site, but as soon as I got a night watchman, and I was broken into quite a lot, it stopped 99% of it. Security systems are only as good as a balaclava will let it be. You know, I've stood there and I had security, and I used to watch it before I had the night watchman, and to be honest with you, it's very, very frustrating watching somebody rob you with a balaclava from Poundland over their head. So, and I don't think you can beat somebody living on site, and it's absolutely paramount. And I've had a business where they didn't live on site, but they night watchman from 5 o'clock until 8:30, and that was, and we were obviously working between those hours. So, it's absolutely imperative. Anyway, I'm mindful of going against officer recommendation and approving this, but I'm happy to listen to what anybody else says. Councillor Benny.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thoroughly agree with everything you say. We've had a lot of local break-ins lately. Mega Plants had his mini digger stolen. Mick Gowler had his tools. He had a load of tools stolen and a dumper about the same time. I've said this at the planning committee when we had that application at Maney. You keep your things for Charlie. The best defence is just people don't know when you're going to walk out the door, and CCTV just shows you what's happened. It doesn't stop it from happening. I mean, it was me that asked for a deferment on this last time it came because I don't know the family and I've got no proof that there was a business there. I asked for these things. They have been submitted. I could have taken it on face value, but we have to be thorough here, and I felt that by having the information which has come forward, to me, this is exactly what we should be doing. It's not just what the stuff you have stolen that's insured, it's the fact you can't work for a week without any tools. So security is a big aspect, and anybody who's going to invest money in any kind of business in the present climate, I think should be fully supported. As a council, that's what we should be doing.
Absolutely. Councillor Marks.
I think also just for consistency, did we not further down the road for a carpentry people allow them to put a property on site as well for security? And that came here 5-6 years ago, and I think we then passed a second property in there. We did, again, on site security. So I think we need to be consistent in our decisions as well.
And also, I can go further than that to say we passed at least 2 in Maney as well. So, you know, if we're looking for consistency, this is where we need to be on this. So, anyone else at all? I'll take Councillor Seneca first and Councillor.
Thank you, Chair. I just think where it says fails on LP12 and the need, I do think that the need has been demonstrated today here, both in our debate and from the speakers, that absolutely, you know, they've gone away and they have come back and demonstrated the need.
Thank you very much, Councillor French.
Thank you. Yeah, I totally agree with Councillor Marks and Councillor Benny. Having had a business for many years, we were fortunate we actually had the house first before we had the building. But you know, only a couple of weeks ago we had Tool Station, which sits behind me. They broke into there and stole £1,000 worth of tools. So you know, the quicker you can get there, the better. So I will be supporting this application.
Yeah, thank you. I think perhaps we've done it now. I think perhaps I've got a gist of where it's going. I don't think there's anything else to add at all. No, so I'm going to close the debate now. Officers, have you got anything to say? No. Thank you very much. So we'll move on. Do I have a proposal to go with officer recommendation to refuse planning permission? Can't see anyone, so obviously that has failed. Can I have another proposal, please? Councillor Marks, what are you proposing?
That on this occasion we go against officer's recommendation we grant the application on security grounds and also economic growth grounds as well. I don't see it being a detriment to where it is. I don't really see the property out of place, and I think, you know, going forward, we should support businesses like this. As you've said, Fenland are open for business. This is a 24-hour out of hours business. Therefore, this is the right place. It's not built in a town or anything else where we've got lorries going in and out during the day. You know, it's right. So I would put that forward.
I think you've summed it up quite well, Councillor Marks. I don't think I could add anything to that. All I'm looking for a seconder is Councillor French. So we've got a proposal to go against officer recommendation with those reasons, which I think are more than adequate.
Can we have the qualities coming back to us as well, so we can see what, if there's nothing too onerous put on this. I think Councillor French and I would like to see what, if any, restrictions are put on this, please.
Yeah, and if you can add me in that as well, please. Yeah. So anyway, I'll go back to it. So we've got a proposal to go with against officer recommendation, proposed by Councillor French, proposed by Councillor Marks, seconded by Councillor French. Can I have a show of hands on that?
Unanimous decision, Chairman.
The application has been approved. Thank you. Okay, so we'll just have a break for 5 minutes. I'm sure Councillor French will like that, or 10 minutes. What time is it now, anybody, without me turning round? 2:10. So if we can be back by 2:20, that'd be good. You want to do something, don't you? 2:20, be back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Here we go. Right, before I hand over chairmanship to Councillor Marks, officers need instructions from members to delegate condition on the Broad Street application at the bank. I hope it won't be too onerous. We missed that out, can we let them have conditions on it? First, you'd like it? I would like to see them personally, and I think you would, wouldn't you?
Probably.
And so, shall we do it to all members? She can have a look at the conditions, can't she?
It's not on the committee, that item.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we'll email her then. Yeah, chair and vice chair then. So can we just have a nod? Just for, yeah, lovely, thank you. So now, lovely. So now, I'll hand over to Councillor Marks to chair the two application numbers 10 and 11. So thank you very much, Councillor Marks.
Thank you. Any members who were not present when the agenda item number 10 and number 11 were originally considered cannot take part in the consideration of these applications at this meeting. As this applies to myself, as this applied to Councillor Connor, he has now handed it over to myself as Vice Chair to take these two applications. Please note the agenda item 10 contains a confidential appendix which is exempt in accordance with paragraph 5 of the Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as it contains information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained. We will remain in public session for as much of the debate as possible. However, if any member wishes to discuss the content of the confidential appendix, then following presentation of the report, please confirm your intention and we will then enter into exempt session. I will now hand over to Matthew Lee, Head of Planning, to present FYR 24-1000/F agenda item number 10.
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, members have got the report in front of them. Obviously, this application was presented to committee on the 28th of May 2025. As the Chairman said, many members previously present at the debate can discuss this one and vote on this one. What I will say is we are going to do this because I'm going to pass you over to the case officer, who will just quickly go through the application, just to give you a refresher of what the application is, and then after that I will speak again. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. So, as Matt said, this was an application that was considered at the meeting on the 28th of May, seeks the erection of 5 dwellings on land west of 27 Norfolk Street, access to Fire Morley Way in Wimblington. And we have just a reminder of the plans and documents submitted with the application. So we've got the aerial photograph and location plan identifying the site as being an area of undeveloped land adjoining residential development to the north and to the east, with access gained from the northwest corner of the site. In this image we have the location of the adjacent listed building identified in blue, adjacent to the eastern boundary of the site. In terms of the site layout, it shows a linear form of development extending from north to south within the site, with the access road running along the western boundary of the site, and elevation plans of the proposed dwellings, all of which are single story in nature with 4 house types included. have a street scene drawing showing the development when viewed from the west of the site, and the approximate outline of the listed building and associated outbuilding is just about visible with the dotted black line there. So we have an image taken from the east of the listed building looking across towards the application site, illustrating the current setting of the listed building as it exists. And we have an aerial view of the site when viewed from the west, illustrated in the context of surrounding existing development. So just for the context, the listed building is located to the rear of the middle plot there, behind the development site. And finally, we have some images taken from within the application site and also taken sort of outside of the site looking towards it. So just by way of a reminder, the officer advice and recommendation remains unchanged as at the previous meeting. That is that the application should be refused on the basis of the impact on the setting of the adjacent Grade 2 listed building, 31 Norfolk Street. Officers consider that the proposals would result in a less than substantial harm to the setting of the heritage asset, with no public benefits arising that would outweigh that harm that's been identified. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. As members aware from the report, we have received a letter in relation to the debate and the recommendation or resolution that members made at the committee. With this in mind, we have brought the item back to yourselves for consideration. The officer's report, which I'm not going to repeat, so you can go through in detail, provides some of the key considerations of the matter in relation to heritage, in relation to the legislation, the MPPF, PPG, and as well as the actual consultation response, the applicant's statement, etc. And obviously they've all been attached as appendices. Officers are conscious of where we are, and office members are able to make an informed decision based on the planning merits of the scheme. So this report, as I said, just highlights the various considerations that members need to be aware of when coming to a decision on this application. And with that in mind, members are requested to reconsider their position and whether or not they still consider granting of planning permission is appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I think at this point, I would like to bring in our legal representative with the committee's agreement. I think we need to reflect back onto the officer's report, and there's a couple of salient points in there which I think if we could debate as separate, so we then get a feeling as to where this is going between with those two items taken into consideration, which do need debating, so it doesn't get mixed up in just one sort of part. So if I could pass over to Victoria for a second or for a minute, so she can sort of like give us the opening point that she feels should be debated.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee. I'm not going to touch on the advice that you've received on the specific application. That's obviously contained in the confidential annex, and I wouldn't want to inadvertently wage privilege in that advice to the Council. What I want to do is to set out the procedure and the process that the committee needs to work through in order to reach this determination. So I'll give an overview of the process first, and then I'd suggest, Chair, that we take it step by step, and I'm happy to come in at each step to clarify the next one to take. So,
is the committee happy with that?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. So the starting point is Section 66 of the Planning Listed Buildings and Conservation Areas Act 1990. And what that says is that in considering whether to grant planning permission for development which affects a listed building or its setting, the local planning authority should have special regard to the desirability of preserving the building or its settings or any features of special architectural or historical interest. So case law has subsequently clarified that what that means is that the planning committee must give considerable weight to the desirability of preserving the setting of the listed building. So that's really a point for the committee to note that there is an obligation to attach considerable weight to the significance of the listed building and to the preservation of it.
In terms of then how you actually go about determining an application, so the starting point is paragraph 213 of the MPPF, which says that when considering the impact of a proposed development on the significance of a designated heritage asset, great weight should be given to the asset's conservation. So that really reflects the statutory requirement. It then goes on to say that this is irrespective of whether any potential harm amounts to substantial harm, total harm, or less than substantial harm to its significance. And the MPPF then diverges, really depending on where you come down on the significance of the harm to the heritage asset. So I think the first thing I'd invite the committee to consider is how significant is the harm to the heritage asset in question. And you've really got four options. There's total loss of the asset, there is substantial harm, there is less than substantial harm, or the committee can find that there is no harm at all. Case law really clarifies that what amounts to substantial or less than substantial harm inevitably is very fact specific, and it comes down to the individual circumstances in a particular application. It's inevitably a matter of fact and degree and a matter for your planning judgment. So once you have settled on the significance of the harm, the next step is to balance that harm against the public benefits associated with the development. And there are subtly different tests that apply depending on what level of harm you conclude. So I perhaps suggest that the committee might first like to consider taking account of the weight to be attached to the significance of the asset and the potential of harm to it. Whether the committee considers that this application would result in total loss of the listed building, substantial harm to the listed building or its setting, less than substantial harm to the listed building or its setting, or no harm at all to the building or its setting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So, shall we go into debate? If you'd like to do so, please raise your hand. Councillor Senator Appleclough.
I may as well start things off because I voted to go with officer recommendation on this, although it was a difficult decision. We had a lengthy debate and we raised several points about harm in the original debate. But to follow on from what Victoria was saying, I would say, based on the photograph that's on the screen now, that this would result in less than substantial harm to the listed building. But I still feel that I'm going to go with my original decision, which was to go with the officer recommendation and refusing this application.
Thank you. Councillor Benny.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I mean, we've all had the confidential aspect of this report, which we've read. We also had a pre-meet before we did this to discuss this today, and we still came down to the same conclusion that every application is judged on its own merit, which this one will be. When it comes to the harm, listed buildings do need looking after, but equally it's the setting of this, which is an important factor. But I really feel that the setting of this is not going to change the status of that Grade 2 listed building. I think that there is no harm in this. I don't think it's whether it's substantial, minimal. I do not see where this will harm the setting of this Grade 2 listed building. It's on its own land. It's not encroaching onto its land, and I do not see where it is. The distance from the houses is 32, 36 metres. I can't remember. There's two figures been bandied about. It's one of the two. At its nearest point, the house is what it is. The house will remain. The gardens and grounds will remain the same. And as the example used earlier in the brief, if it was a castle, it would be different. This is not Corfe Castle. This is one house in Wimbledon, and I do not feel that this affects the setting of the listed building at all.
Councillor French.
Thank you. Yes, I will agree with Councillor Benny. if the listed building was the other way about, I would not support this application, but I will support the approval of this because I don't believe it is substantial harm to that listed building.
Thank you. I have to say, I'm looking at the photograph now. Quite honestly, the fence could be put up at any time, and that would block the view anyway from that property. We are also looking at a property this way towards us, which is actually, I believe, the back of the house, not the front. If you look out towards the front, you can see other properties. They are both to the left and to the right that they are looking at. I do not see that there is any harm done to this. If that fence was put up and the houses weren't there, the view would still be taken away. So I don't see that as an issue. The properties themselves are standing, as we say, between 32 and 36 metres away from the actual property itself. I personally see no harm within that. We'll move on to the second.
Sorry, committee, can I just clarify? Is the decision less than substantial harm, or is the decision no harm at all, just so that I can guide you through the right next step?
Councillor Benny.
My view would be it does no harm.
Councillor French.
I would say less than substantial harm.
I would say no harm.
Okay, well, if the majority of the committee believe that there's no harm at all to the heritage asset, then there's no need to turn to consider the public benefits, because the Section 66 duty is only engaged in circumstances where there would be harm to the listed building or to its setting. And so that really draws consideration of the heritage impacts to a close.
Councillor Benny.
Thank you. I mean, truly, we've got an application in front of us which we've said is bringing homes and one thing or another, which we've discussed, which we don't need to go into today. But we've had other applications that have come in that are listed buildings, and they have been approved. We would not be here if we hadn't received a letter. Personally, as a councillor, I do not like to be threatened. I do not. People are quite entitled to challenge me on my view. But a threat does not change my opinion, and I will not take it as such. And I stand by the decision that I made before. I've seen nothing in here that has changed my mind on this decision, and I still will go with the approval of this site for these 5 houses.
Councillor French.
I totally agree. I just think it was not really on to receive a letter of threat. And I've been on the planning committee for years, and I don't think okay, they might not agree with what you say, but to actually threaten the committee, I just think that's totally out of order.
Thank you. Councillor Clough? No. Okay. Victoria?
There's nothing further. I don't think there's anything further from me, Chair. I think if the committee settled on its view, then there's no reason why not to proceed to a vote on the issue.
Thank you. Thank you, members. Does any officer have any points of clarification? No. Do I have a proposer to go with officer's recommendation to refuse planning permission? Councillor Benny.
Yeah. I mean, the threat of a judicial review is the legal process. This is where it goes if people don't agree with it. This is what it is. But for those that don't know, we need a decision notice that is issued to start a judicial review, which is why we need a decision notice issuing on this so that it will go the route it was. But even Jeremy Clarkson on Clarkson's farm looked at a judicial review and decided, even with the backing of Amazon, it was going to cost too much. And if this gentleman or these people, or whatever they are, want to do a judicial review, that is fine. That is the process it will run. But we need a decision notice issuing on this so that if it goes down that route, the council can deal with that accordingly.
Thank you, Councillor Benny. As I understand it today, whatever proposal and whatever agreement we come to today, the planning department will then issue whichever way. Is that not correct, Matthew?
Through you, Chairman, you know, I could just say yes, but for a little bit of context, just for anyone watching, obviously. As we receive the letter, it is our responsibility as the LPA to inform the committee, because it's something that may change their opinion. If the committee comes to the same conclusion, they've made that decision, been fully armed with all the information before them, so we'll be taking it forward as agreed. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Okay. Do I have a proposer to go with officer's recommendation to refuse planning permission? Councillor Senetclough. Do I have a seconder? That proposal has now failed. Do I have right, sorry, I'm working very much off a script at the present time. If you're against the proposal to go with officer's recommendation, please raise your hand. No, sorry, start again. Can I ask for a different proposal? Councillor Benny.
Yeah, Chairman. I propose we go against officer's recommendation on this and approve this application. And my reasonings are the same as they were in the previous meeting back in May. And to add to this, I see that there is no harm to the safe setting of the listed building, and therefore it doesn't need any public benefit. And I stand by the decision that I made, and the committee will now make the decision, and committees generally do make the right decision. So we will see where it goes from there, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder for this proposal? Councillor French. We will now go to the vote. If you support the new proposal, please raise your hand.
3 votes, Chairman.
Thank you. If you are against the new proposal, please raise your hand.
1 vote, Chairman.
To declare that, I'm sorry. This has now been passed. 3 votes. With delegated authority, 2 officers, 3 votes to 1. Thank you. Okay, sorry, we'll just let the officers leave. Okay, so we'll now continue. Please note that agenda item number 11 contains confidential appendix which is exempt in accordance with paragraph 5 of the Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972, as it contains information in respect of which a claim to legal professional privilege could be maintained. We will remain in public... Okay, we will remain in public session for as much of the debate as possible. However, if any member wishes to discuss the content of the confidential appendix, then following presentation of the report, please confirm your intention and we will enter into exempt session. I will now hand over to Matthew Lee to present agenda item number 11.
Thank you, Chairman. As always, I'll try to be brief. This report is brought to members because of the similarities between this application and the previous application in the mind of the LPA. On the 25th of June, an application was presented to the committee for a new dwelling. It had 2 recommended reasons for refusal, one in relation to the impact on the listed building and one in relation to access issues and highway matters. Members resolved to grant planning permission. The reason this has come back is officers consider that the legal advice that we've received is on all fours with this application, so therefore thought it appropriate to bring this to the attention of members. As you'll see, the application is still recommended for refusal, but that the members' acceptance or considering there's no issues in relation to the access and the highways has fallen away from our recommendation because we're minded of the resolution of the committee, but we have brought it back in relation to the impact on the listed building because of the consistencies with the previous application. But as I said, obviously, like with the last one, only members present can debate. It was relatively recent compared to the previous one, but we'll still pass over to the case officer just to give members an update. Thank you.
Thank you. So agenda item 11 is a full application for the erection of one self-built custom dwelling at 108 High Street, March. So just to refresh, the application site is shown in red on the location plan and aerial photo, and that white line you can see on the aerial photograph shows the approximate split of the site as a result of the development proposed. So the site is located within the March Conservation Area, and the existing dwelling at the front of the site is a Grade 2 listed building, as well as the dwellings to the south. So the application proposes the erection of a bungalow in the back portion of the site, which is shown with the U-shaped building at the upper part of the image. And this would be accessed by the existing access, which would then run further back into the site, and a new parking and turning area, and then the existing arrangements for the frontage dwelling are to remain as they are. So the elevations are shown on screen, which indicates a mix of buff brickwork and a timber cladding. Officers consider that the overall design and appearance of the dwelling is of a basic modern form, which is unsympathetic to the setting of the listed building. And the floor plan's shown just for completeness. And a street scene as well. So some site photographs on the screen. The upper two photos show the existing access into the site with the host listed building to the left, and the lower left image shows the rear of the listed building and its setting, and then the lower right image shows the curtilage in further detail. So the Conservation Officer is advised that there is a medium level of less than substantial harm to the setting of the listed building as a result of the subdivision of the site to form the curtilage of the new dwelling. This is exacerbated by the unsympathetic design of the actual dwelling proposed. This would adversely impact on the conservation area by eroding the historic pattern of building. It is not considered that this harm is outweighed by any public benefit. The application is put forward as a self-custom build, however the Council has a healthy supply of such sites and therefore no significant weight can be attached to this issue. The application is therefore recommended for refusal.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Officer. I would now like to invite members to debate the item in respect to the material planning considerations. Again, with the committee's agreement, if we can take it via Victoria, who will give us the salient points that we need to debate.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Again, I think it's important to start with the potential harm to the heritage asset, the listed building, bearing in mind your duty under Section 62. So I suppose I'd invite the committee first of all to consider whether you consider that the potential harm to the listed building would amount to total loss, substantial harm to the building or its setting, less than substantial harm to the building or its setting, or no harm at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Councillor French.
Thank you. Like the previous application, I consider that there is no harm whatsoever to the listed building. It's, a long distance away, many yards it is.
Councillor Benny.
Thank you, Chairman. Agree with Councillor French. I did put the proposal forward, I think, last time and say that it would be minimal harm. But looking at the reports and reading over the documents again, I've come to the conclusion there is no harm to this. One thing I failed to see is the similarity between this and the previous one. This is for one dwelling, backland. The other one is for 5. I think that the differences are. I don't see what the differences of these or the similarities between these are. But certainly I don't think this will do any harm to the setting of the listed building because of the distance the new development will be away from the listed building.
Councillor Senate-Clough.
Originally and today I considered that there would be less than substantial harm, which meant that I was thinking about the possible public benefit, and I mentioned last time viability, to my mind, you know, we need to preserve these buildings, and obviously there was, at the point of that meeting, I considered that obviously the owner needed to move into a smaller building, and I was concerned about the viability of the listed building. However, it's my understanding that that viability hasn't come forward with the application, and so I feel that I have no option but to go with the officer's recommendation in light of the lack of information relating to viability coming forward.
Thank you. I have to say again, I don't see this property at the rear being detrimental to the Grade 2 listed building. You can't see it. I know we are being told by officers that, you know, just because you can't see it, but it is set, I believe, 60 odd metres back from the other property. There are other properties closer to it. There's also the public house with noise and everything else. You could say that detracts from a Grade 2 listed building as well. With what they've got there, they've got various structures and stuff there. So at the present time, I'm sorry, but I feel I will have to go against officers' recommendation. Councillor Benny.
Yeah, I mean, most of the part of the recommendation to turn this down is based on the conservation officer, and conservationists, by definition, like to conserve things. And we're also told when we have planning training that planning isn't about one specific thing, it's about looking at the overall and the overarching reports that we get back. There's no objections to this site. You could ask 10 conservation officers and you could get 20 different answers. It's only an opinion. It's not written in stone, and therefore, whilst I accept the professionalism of the officer, I disagree with it. My opinion is different, and the vote will determine which way this one goes, Mr. Chairman.
What I would also say is, driving in this morning, I would hope the conservation officer would actually drive down the road and see the new signage that seems to have appeared on the vets, which seems more out of keeping than a property that's hidden behind another building. But that's a different story. Anyway, any further comment before we go to officers? Okay, thank you. So, does any officer have any points of clarification? No? No, okay. Do I have a proposer to go with officer's recommendation to refuse planning permission? Councillor Senate Clough. Do I have a seconder for this recommendation? No, that proposal has failed. So can I ask for a different proposal? Two hands up. Which was?
Councillor French can do it.
Councillor French?
Yeah, believe that we should go against officers' recommendations with the reasons we used in the last time.
Okay. As this proposal is
last time. Okay, I'll
As this proposal is against officer's recommendation, you need to provide policy planning reasons for the proposal.
Believe there is no harm whatsoever.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for your proposal? Councillor Benny. We will now go to the vote. If you support the new proposal, please raise your hand. Conditions delegated.
3 votes, Chairman.
Thank you. If you're against this proposal, please raise your hand.
1 vote, Chairman.
This proposal has been granted 3 to 1. Thank you. I will now hand back to Councillor Connor. Oh. Thank you. Thank you for attending this. This concludes today's business, and I declare the meeting closed. The next meeting is on September the 17th, 2025.